In this video, we'll create this interactive personal finance dashboard where you can track your actuals versus your budget alongside your monthly expenses, cash balance, and income. And you can download the start file in the description. So let's get into it. Looking into the Excel file, you're going to have an Actuals tab where you can record all your transactions. So for instance, over here, you can see all of the different details for them alongside their categories, which as you can see from this table over here, these are all the categories we have available. Some are going to be expenses, while others are going to be income. And in case you don't have any, you can just leave those at 0. So let's go down all the way to the very bottom so I can show you how to add a new transaction. So control down arrow, and down over here, let's say I go right click, and we're gonna insert a row below that. And for this one, let's say I put the 29th of May. And you can see that it all starts to auto-populate. So we've got May over here, and let's say this is, we went grocery shopping. And for the description, let's say I put that was Walmart shopping, and that's gonna show dynamically that it's already an expense. And let's say that's for $25. And there you go, now it's all being accounted for. Then on the next tab, we're going to have the budget side, which is actually gonna be quite similar. Go to control page down over here. And as you can see, you have the same kind of concept with the month, the category, and whether it's an income or expense. For the budget, it is gonna be for a longer period, so for the whole year, as that probably makes more sense in that you already know your budget throughout the whole year. If you ever wanna change it, you just go in and change the number like so. Let me press Ctrl Z to go back there. Alright, let's get started with the dashboard tab, and more specifically the data bars, which are going to tell us how much we've spent relative to our budget in a given month. So moving to the dashboard tab, press Control page up, and basically over here we want to fill all of these values in. So we're gonna need to filter both by the month and by the category so that it equates to rent, transport, etc. For this, we're just gonna go ahead under actuals and select everything here. So we're gonna go insert, pivot table. That's gonna be the easiest way for us to essentially find these numbers dynamically. So we'll go existing location, and the location we wanna put, say under pivot tables, is just gonna be right up over here. Hit OK there. Then looking at the right hand side over here, we're gonna wanna put the amount as the value. Then under the column, we're gonna wanna put the month, just like so. And you can see the table starts to auto-populate there, and the categories are gonna go under the rows. And now essentially we need to filter this to just show rent and then transport, etc, etc. So let's go down on this drop down over here, deselect the select all here. So click on that once, and that first one is gonna be rent, hit OK, and now it's showing rent for us. Because we're gonna have many pivot tables and we don't wanna get confused, let's go ahead and name these. So for this top one, first just select it all by going to Control A, and then under pivot table name over here, we wanna name it something like rent A for actual, and that's gonna do it for us. And we need to replicate these steps for all the different categories. So if you go to Control page up, you're gonna find that the next one is gonna be transport. So we wanna do the same thing. First, let's select it all by going to Control A, then Control C to copy it. And just down below around row 7, Control V. And here under row labels, we're gonna change the filter. So we're gonna deselect the rent, and instead we're gonna select transport and hit OK. Also, we want to label this, remember, so we're gonna select it all, Control A there. And from here, we wanna go under pivot table analyze and name this one transport A. So you get the idea, and now I'm just gonna fast forward this as I do it for all the other ones. Nice. Now that we have all of these, we need to link them to the dashboard tab. So go to Control page up, and under rent, we're gonna go equals and essentially link it to the grand total over here, hit enter. And same thing over with transport equals this one over here, and so on and so forth with all the other ones. Let me go a bit quickly. So groceries, hit enter. Then for utilities equals utilities over here, hit enter. Leisure equals, leisure should be just lower down, right over here, hit enter. And same thing over with others equals others and hit enter. But these figures are giving us the data for year to date, but we actually want to be able to customize this into a specific month. So for this, we're gonna need to use a slicer. So go to Control page up, over to the pivot tables tab, Control up arrow all the way to the top. And over here, what we want to do under pivot table analyze is insert a slicer. And that slicer is gonna be for the month. Hit OK there. And once we have it, press Control X and then go to Control page up and then Control V over here. That's how you would cut it. For the name, let's change this to something like actuals. So go under the slicer tab and put actuals over here. So Control A, actuals, hit enter, and that's gonna update for us. And now, so if we change to January, you'll notice that the rent changes to January, But the problem is that all these other ones aren't linked just yet, so we need to go ahead and do that. For this, we're gonna have to report connections. So click on that. From there, we wanna essentially tick all of the ones. That's why we named them earlier, so we know what's what. Basically, we're just gonna go ahead and tick them manually one by one. Hit OK there. And now suppose I change the month of February, you'll notice that all of them dynamically change. Same thing with, say, April, etc. We've done our work on the actual side, but we need to also work on the budget side. So for this, go to Control Page Down arrow all the way to the budget, which is gonna be right over here. Then go to Control Up arrow all the way to the top, and we'll also insert a pivot table here. So we'll go under Insert, then we'll go to Pivot Table, and we want it in an existing worksheet. In that location, we're gonna have to click on this so we can drag it, say right below all of these. So say right over here around row 33, hit enter there and hit OK. Here on the right hand side, we're gonna want the budget as the values. Then we're also gonna want the category like before under the rows. And lastly, we're gonna want the month as the column. And now we want to filter these row labels. So firstly, we're just gonna have the rent like we did before. So go under select all, click on that, and we're gonna go rent first, hit OK. That's gonna give us just the rent. We're gonna wanna name it again, so Control A. From this under pivot table name, say we go rent B for budget there, hit enter. And we wanna replicate the same action again, but this time around, it's gonna be for all the budget side. And to make this a bit less confusing, let's go ahead and format this. So press Shift Space and then Control Plus, Control Shift Plus. And then over here, say we put something like budget, just so we have a bit of separation there. Press Control B, then go to Alt H, and let's say we select something like a dark blue color, and then Alt H FC, and we're gonna go to white, and that's gonna give us the white background. One more thing we'll need here is to label these. So say I type total budget over here, and then I'm gonna link the grand total amount just on top, and you'll see why we'll need this for later. And so that we've done it for the rent side, and we have to replicate that same action for all the other categories. And don't forget to label them accordingly. Let me fast forward that. Nice. Now that we have all the relevant pivot tables, we're gonna add a slicer over here as well. So go to Insert Slicer once you have the first pivot table selected. Click on that. We're gonna want the month as well. Hit OK. And then Control X. Then go to Control Page Up. And we're gonna paste it down over here, Control V. We wanna rename this one as well, so we're gonna go under Slicer, and let's say we name it something like budget. Hit enter there, and let me go ahead and reformat these. And again, just like the previous one, we need to link all of these as well. So go to Slicer, Report Connections, and this time we wanna link them to all the ones that are category B. So go ahead and do that. Hit OK there. Finally, we can get started with the data bar feature. For this, first let's select the rent cell, then we're gonna go under conditional formatting, data bars, more rules, and then we're gonna wanna put under the maximum, instead of it being automatic, we're gonna want a number. And that number, click on this arrow over here, is gonna be under the pivot tables tab. It's gonna be for the rent, the budgeted amount, which is gonna be this one up over here. Hit enter there. And then the bar appearance, so the color that we're gonna want is gonna be a dark blue, say like this one over here. Go ahead and click on that and then hit OK. As you can see now, it's only a very small portion, and that's because actually on our actuals we only have the month of April, but under the budget we have all of the months selected, which doesn't make all that much sense. So if we just select April, it should be the whole amount, and that's because rent typically is gonna be fixed. It's not gonna be something that fluctuates. And now we want to repeat the same thing for the other parts. So under transport, we're going to go conditional formatting, data bars again, more rules. And this time we're going to want the automatic here. We're going to change that to a number. Click on that. And that number, go to Control Page Up. Is this time around going to be for transport? Click on this, hit enter. And then for the color, we're going to want to change that color again to this dark blue over here. Hit OK. And now you can see that transport is almost full. And for all of these other ones, I'm just gonna fast forward the process. Great, now that everything is linked together, let's work on some of the icons. For this, just go to Insert and we're gonna click on Icon. And from here, you can search whatever icon you want. For instance, I can just go ahead and type house, and that's gonna be the rent one. So let me just click on this one, say, hit Insert. We're gonna change the color of it to a graphic fill there. We're gonna change it to white. and then I'm just gonna move it across here and reformat it. That's pretty much how you would go about all of the other icons. So I'm just gonna fast forward that as well. Great, we just finished formatting the data bars, and over here you can start to tell that relative to the budget, it seems like our leisure has gone up quite a bit, so maybe we should watch out on that one, while we seem to be doing just fine when it comes to transport. And if you want to change the month, make sure you change both of them, because it doesn't make sense to compare February actuals versus the budget of January. So make sure you change that to February. Now you can see what that's looking like. It seems like others over here is quite low. And if you're liking this video, you can also check out our course where an investment banker, a financial analyst, and myself teach everything we know about finance, valuation, and financial modeling on Excel. First, we'll cover financial statement analysis using Apple's real annual report as an example. Then, we'll get into financial modeling through a three-statement model. After that, we'll begin the valuation phase where you learn to do a discounted cash flow, a comparable company's valuation, and a present transactions valuation on Adobe, looking at their real financial statements to eventually derive a valuation range. Lastly, we'll show you how to present an investment thesis using a stock pitch format. So if you're interested in checking it out, go to a link in the description below. Alright, back to the video. Let's now work on creating an expense by category chart so we can see what's costing us most. We'll go over to the Actuals tab, go to Control Page Down all the way there, select everything, so go to Insert, and from here we're gonna go to Pivot Table. We want it in an existing worksheet, and that location is gonna be, go to Control Page Up, say right around row 72. Hit Enter there and hit Enter again. There we go. Here we're gonna wanna have the month under the columns as the amounts under the values. Then we're gonna want the category under the rows. And one final thing that we're gonna need is a filter. And that filter is gonna be by income/expense, such that in this case, we're only looking for the expenses. So we can go ahead and filter that by expenses only, hit OK. And now all of the income is gonna be gone. Then we're gonna have to link all of these so we can create a chart. Firstly, up over here under row around 69, press the Shift space and then Control Shift plus, just so we create a bit of separation there. And this one, let's say we label it, go all the way back up here. So this one over here, so we can just go ahead and copy it. Then scroll down all the way over here. And let's say we paste this and call it charts, just so we understand what's going on everywhere. From there, we're gonna wanna link all of these. So we'll go equals, and this one's gonna be groceries, and just drag that all the way down till around here, Control V. Now all the way till utilities. And then next to that, we're gonna have the grand totals for each. So for groceries, it's gonna be this figure over here. Then for leisure, we're gonna have to link the one just below. So it's this one over here. And I'm gonna fast forward the rest. Great, now we'll select this whole chart area, Control Shift down, Control Shift right. Go under Insert, and we're gonna go under Recommended Charts. That first one should do it for us. Hit OK. Press Control X, and we're gonna format it over on the Dashboard tab, so right around over here. And firstly, we're gonna change the title and call that something like Expense by Category. For the fill color, we're gonna wanna select it first, then under color, I'm gonna go to my recent dark blue color that I want. I also wanna add some labels, so right click, and then we're gonna go Add Data Labels. That should do it for us at the very top. Let's also increase the width of these columns, so go ahead and click on them, and we're gonna go over here under gap width, and we're just gonna reduce that gap width, say something like 100 seems a bit better. And lastly, we need to be able to link this chart as well. So go under the slicer for actuals, go to slicer, go to report connections, and this one, if you recall, it's the only one we haven't labeled so far, so we'll go under pivot table 14 and click on that, hit OK. And so now if we change to January, you'll notice that all of the values change. Same thing with March, etc. Let's put it back to February for now. Great. Now it would be nice to know how much cash we have and how that's been progressing over time. As you can see over here, we do have a starting cash balance of around $3,000. And so from there, how has it evolved? To do that, we can just create a new pivot table. So let's go ahead and select this whole one that we used earlier, press Ctrl C. Then down over here, we're just gonna press Ctrl V to paste it. And we wanna change a few things here. Firstly, go over to the pivot table tab, which is gonna be this one over here. And we wanna deselect the filter. So click on that and go to all first, hit OK. And then I'm just gonna remove it like so. Then we want to put the income and the expenses under the rows. We don't need the categories, so we'll remove that. Now you can see that we've got both the income and the expense. Now we want to link these, so the expense first, then we're gonna do the income, and right next to those we're gonna have the grand totals. So firstly it's gonna be this one up here, and then for the income it's gonna be the one right below. With this information we can start to calculate the cash. So we're gonna have a starting cash balance, then we're gonna have a change in cash, and an ending cash balance. Great. For the starting cash, that's just gonna be equals to the starting cash balance right over here. Hit enter. The change in cash is gonna be equals to the income minus the expense. Hit enter there. And then the ending cash is gonna be the sum of these two. Hit enter. To show this visually, we're gonna select both the start and the end. So go ahead and select those. So this one over here, keep pressing the control key, and then just go ahead and drag these two. From there, we're gonna go under insert, go to recommended charts. We're gonna go for this vertical one, hit OK there. Let's go ahead and reformat it, press Ctrl X, then paste it over here. And let me fast forward how I reformat this. Nice, let me now show you how you can add a dotted line over here just to show more separation. For this, go to insert, we're gonna create a shape. That shape is just gonna be a line. And then we're gonna press the shift key so it stays straight. We're just gonna drag it down all the way to the bottom here. And now we want to change it. So the shape outline is gonna be this dark blue color first. Then we also want to change the weight. The weight is gonna be around 2. Then we want to go back to shape outline and we want dashes. And let's say we go for this one over here like so. Nice. One final thing that would be nice to have is a chart comparing our totals. So our actual income versus our planned income, and same thing for the expenses. So let's work on that. Go to control page up under pivot tables. And firstly, let's put it down over here. And we already have the expenses. These are gonna be all for actuals. So we've got the actual expense and we've got the actual income as well. For these, we just need to link them up over here, and same thing for the one below. For the budget side though, because we don't have the data, we're gonna need to create a pivot table. Go to control page down all the way to the budget here. And then I'm just gonna go to insert, pivot table. We want it in an existing worksheet, and that location for us is gonna be go control page up right around over here. Hit OK there. And we're gonna need to filter this by income or expense. The values is gonna be the budget. And for the columns, that's gonna be the months. So let's go ahead and drag those, and there you go. So for our planned expense, let's say we put it over here, planned expense, and then we're gonna have planned income. The expense side is gonna be equal to the grand total over here, and the income side is just gonna be right below that. The reason this is showing for so many months is because we haven't actually linked it to the slicer. So press Ctrl A to select all of that. Let's go ahead and rename this. Let's say we name it something like bar chart. Bar chart B for planned. Hit enter there. And so now when we go to dashboard, go under the slicer over here. So B is the budget side. So go to slicer, report connections, and we're gonna wanna report the bar chart B. Hit OK there. Great, now if we go back to the pivot table, it should have updated for us. So go control page down, and over here you can see that now it's only for the month of February, as it should be. Now that we have the data, let's go ahead and create the chart for it. So go under actual expense, we'll select these two, and same thing over with planned expense right over here. We'll select them and go under the insert, go to recommended charts, and we want it to be on this horizontal way, so hit OK there. And go to control X, then control page down, and we'll paste that one, say right over here. And same thing over with the income side. So we'll select this one, press the control key, select this other one, go under insert again, recommended, and it's gonna be this one over here. Hit OK, control X, control page up, and then paste it over here. And let me fast forward how I reformat this, as it's pretty much the same as all the other charts. Awesome, now we have a fully dynamic personal finance dashboard, where as you can see, it seems like we're quite healthy in that our actual expenses are lower than the planned. And same thing goes over here, where our actual income is greater than the planned. And so now when we change things, say I go to January here, everything is gonna update dynamically. Same thing if I have more cash, say I go 3,500 there, then that's gonna change accordingly. And you can select a multiple month period as well, just by clicking on that, and say I go up until March. Same thing over here, I go up until March. If you ever wanna deselect it, you can just click on that again, that's gonna deselect it for you. For more on budgeting, check out this link over here where we compare actuals versus budgets, or this other link over here if you wanna learn more about finance, valuation, and financial modeling. Smash that like and that subscribe button if you liked it, and I'll catch you in the next one.